Good day, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my co-host from Ravenloft, Draculetta.
Hey, everybody. How's it going tonight?
Everything's fine over here. And also, please welcome our special guest for this week, Geek Mom.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. Is that what you want me to call you, or do you have another name you wish to be?
Geek Mom will work just because the blog's that, so that's fine.
All right, there. We'll start out with our usual starter, and that is to ask you how you got involved in Dungeons & Dragons.
I actually started playing tabletop in my early 20s with my brother and his friends. I had wanted to play when I was younger, when it first came out very big in the mid-'80s, but I was told by all the boys that girls can't play Dungeons & Dragons.
What?
I told you, that's why they're unmarried and living in mommy's basement. So I actually met my husband playing tabletop. He was our DM, and I may have used that later in our gaming career quite unfairly for the other players, and I apologize.
I'm sure that probably came in handy.
It did. It saved my character more than once. And then we started playing Dungeons & Dragons online in March of 2006.
Oh, right. That is pretty early on.
We were I would say about the first full week live. I had read an article in the paper about it. So we went out and got the actual game, on the CDs that you had actually put into the computer.
Days. Back in the good old days when you went to the store and bought a box for a game, yeah.
We probably still have it somewhere because he still has Windows 95 box set. So we probably still have that somewhere. And we've been playing ever since.
All right. And how'd you get involved in the community?
I got involved in the community because I play with Jeff Hanna in the Halfling Commandos, and he has a blog. And I kept telling him that, this would make a good blog post. This would make a good blog post. Meanwhile, we had been teasing him unmercifully for having the blog in the first place, to which I owe a huge apology because now it's, turnabout's fair play. So, but I started deciding that why tell him what to write when I could write it myself, and that's when I started.
All right. And anything you wish to say about it before we cover it more in depth later on?
No, I think it's pretty good. I mean, it's Confessions of a Geek Mom. It's a little bit about everything that I do, raising my geek family.
Okay. Well, we'll head into that a little bit more later. But we'll begin with the game news, if we had any. But we do have a Chronicle, issue 153. And anything exciting in issue 153?
The Character Planner Lite has been updated, so you can click over and check that out. And then Shindoku has put together a gear planner spreadsheet. And so if you're a min-maxer and you're thinking about some different gear you can try out, you can look at this planner and help you plan out your character if that's what you want. And then there is a great blog post by a player named Ailsthane, who is taking a look at the top 3 taverns in DDO.
Top 3 taverns?
And since his name is Ailsthane, I guess that's a very appropriate character name for him. Yeah, it's called The Note to Strike a Chord, the top 3 taverns in DDO. So go ahead and check that out.
What makes a tavern interesting in DDO?
Well, you'll have to go read his blog post and find out finally. That would be spoilers if we just told you.
All right.
And then in the fansite news, DDOcast had their recent episode where they were talking about hats, helmets, and headgear with the special guest for that show was community manager Cordovan. So check that out to give that a listen. And DDO Gamer, which would happen to be Jeff Hanna, crafts with mushrooms, and he's got some questions about that. So check his blog post out. And Gingerspice took a look at Trails of the Archons and the new raid, so click over to check out his new videos. And that is about it.
So I see that there is a screenshot here, the screenshot of the week. It looks a little bit familiar.
It does. It's very similar to a screenshot we did a couple of weeks ago. I think they copied us finally.
All right, then let's head into the store sales. Anything useful?
The Harper Agent Enhancement Tree is 20% off this week, as well as select stat tomes, the Level 7 Veteran Status, the Long-Lasting Stat Buff Potions, and the 32-point builds, all 20% off in the store. And your free sample through August 13th would be the small jewel of fortune. One of those with the coupon code LOOT7, LOOT7. And as always, one code per account, so choose wisely.
All right, so I'll have to remember to pick that up when we play on Wednesday.
Yes, those jewels of fortune are very handy to have.
Then let's head into the site news, and our first story this week is that DDO Players Screenshot of the Week number 28, and does this involve a moon and a ship?
It does not, but it involves our unofficial stalker, though.
Ooh.
Edric sent a screenshot in. It is a picture of one of the waterfalls that he found in King's Forest. And he says you can't really see his character, Wipeon, I'm sure I just pronounced that wrong, sorry Edric, who is blocked by his Onyx Panther. But the other character you can see in the screenshot is his hireling. And it's a pretty little cool screenshot. Once again, waterfalls in DDO are pretty cool. And he's got the Panther, so that's always cool.
I don't know, it doesn't look like the water came out all that well in this shot.
Well, it's kind of dark, I think, is the reason why. But
yeah, I guess that's the reason. Yeah, it's a bit nighttime waterfalls. Is it hard to see the subtlety sometimes at night?
It is. If you have a screenshot you were proud of, podcast at ddoplayers.com, and we might feature your screenshot on the site. And next week we have another player-submitted screenshot. So people are slowly starting to send those in to us, which is great.
All right, and it looks like you were doing a lot of walking on this week's videos.
I finally got around to posting the Fabled Gencon walkthrough videos that I hinted about on last week's show. The gaming halls walkthrough, which are in two parts because I split it up because I didn't want to just do one long video of them, so you can see kind of what was going on in the various gaming halls and the various games people were playing. And then the last one I did was the vendor hall walkthrough, which everybody seems to enjoy that one. So I hope they turned out well. I wasn't quite sure how well it was going to work out, walking and videoing at the same time, but I guess they turned out fairly well. I'm pretty happy with them, I guess. There's some things I'd change about them, but you live and you learn, I guess.
We have the panel.
And this we hinted about last week as well, too. I was waiting on permission from Geek and Sundry if we could actually release it, and I finally did get that permission. So if you want to hear what they had to say in their panel, which was standing room only, it was in the biggest ballroom at the Indiana Convention Center, and it was packed out. And it actually went overtime a little bit, too, because once you get Will Wheaton started talking, he just doesn't want to stop. But we did break some news from that on Twitter because I was live tweeting as it was going on, and we talked about it last week. But there will be a Season 2 of Titan's Grave, and there will be a Season 4 of Tabletop. So that's the big news. And then you just got a little behind the scenes of him and his son, how they came up with some of the writing they did and some of the other stuff. So it's a really great listen. Runs a little over an hour. So it's just good just to put it on and listen to if you're into Titan's Grave.
All right. Now, Geek Mom, have you been following Titan's Grave, or have you been avoiding it because of the slightly adult nature of it?
I actually watched a couple of the episodes myself. I wouldn't share it with my daughter yet, but I like the way that he explains what role-playing games are. He does a really good job of that.
Yeah, he is a great game master, dungeon master, whatever you want to call him. He just does a great job. And your daughter, how old is she?
She's 11.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, might be a little bit too mature for her then.
Exactly. She'll catch us on the swearing part, so actually watching something that actually has the swearing, probably she wouldn't do.
Let's then head on to the endurance of the Gemini. And what is the endurance of the Gemini?
Well, I will tell you, Musk, who has not written anything for a while, so it's great to see him back on the site writing, was talking about there is a person that's on Twitch. He's not on the official DDO stream, but he does Twitch quite often, every night, as a matter of fact. He goes by the name of Gemini. And last week, on Monday, he set out to do a 24-hour DDO stream.
Oh, good grief.
It was pretty epic. I did watch some of it. I didn't watch, I probably watched maybe 2 hours of it off and on while I was kind of working on some computers and stuff at my desk. It was good. He says, if you have never watched Gemini on Twitch, do yourself a favor and watch his streams. He is an awesome person, and he just has fun playing DDO, which is what it's all about in the end. He did manage, let's see, I forgot how long he did. Let's see. I forgot how long his stream was. I don't think he made it quite to 24.
I think you said that he made it about 19 hours.
Yes, that's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
An honorable 19. Yeah, that's, I couldn't see it in the article there. But
Well, yeah, getting past 19 is very tough.
I mean, good on you, man. 19 hours out of 20, and that was like pretty much straight too. From when I was watching, he wasn't taking any breaks for anything, so good on you. And I'm not sure if he said why he was doing it. I don't think he was doing it for like Extra Life or anything. He was just, I think he just decided just to try to do it to see if he could do it and just have fun with it. So
I don't know. My record for without a break is about 6 hours.
yeah, I think last year when I did Extra Life, I think I made it probably 7 hours maybe, and I had to take a break. So
Yeah, that's sort of like the way things are going. I remember, when I was doing Extra Life last year, what I wound up doing is I had split it over, I think, 2 days. Now, but so that the total time was 24 hours over the 2 days. But to add a little bit extra, but I did not count the time on the news podcast as part of it, so because I was doing a podcast that night also.
right. And Ninth Fond in the chat says that's about 16 more hours than he probably could manage doing it.
Yeah.
And Felicia Day, which I'm pretty sure is not really Felicia Day, cough, DJ Pimp Daddy, says he did 14 and then crashed last year on the Extra Life. So
Right, that's the thing is, when you doing Extra Life, I do what works for you. And as I said, I do the 24 hours, but I split it up so that I am coherent.
exactly. But yeah, Gemini is Gemini166 on Twitch, and I will link his Twitch page in the show notes for this episode. And I do just do yourself a favor and add him on Twitch so you can get the announcements when he starts twitching, which is nightly. Check him out. Great guy.
All right, then let's go into the news beyond DDO. And first, some bad news about Sword Coast Legends. It looks like it's going to be delayed for 3 weeks.
Not too long to wait on it, but it is getting delayed. The reason why they said, I guess I give them credit for this. They said in order to make Sword Coast Legends the best game it can be, we've made the difficult decision to push the Windows, Mac, Linux release dates out 3 weeks to September 29th. However, we are very excited to be able to open up the Head Start access to anyone with Windows, Mac, or Linux that pre-orders early in the month. We're shooting to open up that Head Start on our original release date of September the 18th. Or September the 8th. Wow, I am having a hard time reading stuff and talking tonight.
Yep.
So if you pre-ordered, you can get into the Head Start, which anymore, that's about what most games do. They do like early access and Head Start. That's kind of the norm in the game industry now. So their End Space is hoping to get that up on the 8th, and then the official release date will roll out on the 29th. But to make up for the little bit of extra wait, they are giving you a little bit of extra thanks for your continued support and general awesomeness. All pre-orders will receive the Rage of Demons downloadable content module free of charge. And of course, we've talked about Rage of Demons before. That is the recently announced storyline for the new adventure season of Dungeons & Dragons. And that is going to see players aiding the iconic Drizzt as he delves into the Underdark to stop the Demon Lords from rising out of the abyss. So if you pre-ordered Sword Coast, you're going to get to that downloadable content added on for free, just for saying thanks for sticking with us.
All right. Thank you. And then let's head on to, finally, we can get to Titan's Grave Chapter 9. Nightmare Visions. And boy, is that an appropriate title.
It is. And if you listen to the panel, Will Wheaton did talk about this and kind of why this episode came into being. I won't spoil it. I'll let you listen to the panel because it's kind of funny to hear and tell the story. But yeah, this episode is pretty heavy. And like I said in the post I did for this, I think this is the best episode of the show yet. If you really, really like role-playing and you like to see people role-play and to see their reactions as their characters, this is the episode for you to watch for that.
All right. Then let's head into our main section for this week's episode, and that is to allow Geek Mom to talk about gaming and kids.
Thank you. So I started the blog, like I said, just to have a little bit of extra whenever I could come up with something in the game. But lately it's turning more into exposing my daughter to Dungeons & Dragons Online, which is mostly what lately I have been writing about. So we've started her off on a free-to-play account, and we've been journeying through Stormreach, and it's been fun.
All right.
So what made you decide to get her start playing, or did she want to start playing DDO, or was that more you guys kind of pushing her towards playing it?
It was definitely her wanting to play.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it is. She would run our characters around when we had to take breaks, like to go help her sister out. One of the infamous ones was she actually took my rogue through the desert with the whole group of people that we had in the halflings, and she just ran my rogue through having a blast. And she was probably, I think, about 9 at the time, but she's been pushing us, and so we had created a free to play, and she got the character, I want to say, about to level 3, and had given up for a while. Other things took her interest, like Minecraft, because that's the age group.
Exactly. You say naturally she gravitated towards Minecraft,
But lately, I want to say probably in the last 3 months, she really wanted to push again playing. And I started playing more with her than my husband. I rolled up another cleric to basically MommyBot her.
That's awesome.
And so we've gotten her through now. The latest thing we did is we got her all the way through Delirious and the Necromancer. So yeah, she's very, very excited. She's about a bubble away from level 8.
Oh, sweet.
All right.
And considering that there's no bonuses or anything that she's got on her character, that's pretty good. She's doing it on her own most of the time. I will set her up with the wiki maps in an open area, and she will go in there on her own and find all the rares. She's done that through Tangleroot, and now she's in Searing Heights, and she only needs one more rare out of Searing Heights, and she's done with that.
That is amazing.
She has no fear. I think, and that's the difference with kids, is that she went in on her own within Three Barrel Cove twice into the fire caves on her own, trying to solo it.
Wow.
Didn't know anything about the quest, but tried soloing it twice. And then I was running a raid, and I got this tell from her saying, "Mommy, what's this mine shaft over here? And it's calling me to go in it." I'm like, "No, sweetie, you can't run Scoundrels Run on your own." I'm like, "You need a little bit of help. Go run something else." And she does. She just doesn't have that fear that I think sometimes older people have when they try playing new games.
You mean not quite as cautious as I am?
I don't know. I don't think she's died that many times, though. She usually recalls out before she dies. She's pretty smart.
What class is she playing?
She's playing a fighter, just straight basic fighter. I thought it was a good way to get her into the game, hack and slash her way through. She's scolded me a couple of times. Like my cleric will run ahead of hers, and she'll be like, "Mommy, I'm the fighter. I'm supposed to go ahead."
Tanking's my job.
Exactly. You're supposed to be behind me, Mom.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that sounds like a pretty cool kid, actually.
Well, clerics are sometimes beside the fighter instead of behind them, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I know the quest, so I usually will run ahead of her, but she doesn't like that.
She wants to learn the quest on her own.
Well, that's the thing about her going in on her own to solo them. She did in Three Barrel Cove. She went into Two-Toed Tobias, and she had run through most of Two-Toed Tobias on her own, but even without a hireling. And so she didn't finish it. So my husband and we ran in with her, and I mentioned this on my blog, and I was like, oh, hey, honey, there's a secret door over here. And she responds to me, she goes, Mommy, that's just the shrine.
Oh, wow.
You know, with all the disdain that a preteen can put into her voice.
Yes.
I can just about imagine that.
So she's enjoying herself. I think the next thing we're going to open up for her is Sorrow Dusk, just because it's got a long quest arc and she can go and kill things to her heart's content. It's a lot of fun to be sitting there raiding some night and then just getting tells from her going, I just got another rare. I got another rare. I got another one. So she just gets so excited, and then just the tells will just pile in. And I'll be like, okay, Mommy's healing on Fire Peak right now. I really need to concentrate. So she's having fun, and it's fun to play with her because, you know, it's just something for us to do. And she's 11, so sooner or later, she's not going to want to hang around with Mommy and Daddy.
Right.
Exactly. So right now, it's something that we can do together with her.
All right. Have you ever tried doing anything like streaming or vids?
We have not tried. She probably would be willing to do that because she's a little bit more, you know, even tech savvy than we are, just with being the age group. But I haven't tried anything with that yet. Maybe we'll have to do one for her. She'd probably enjoy it.
Yeah. I was thinking of, I don't know if you've ever seen, now this is Lotro, not DDO, but there's a series of Sunset Sports called Lily Kate's Lotro Adventures, Small Lotro Adventures, where she goes with her daughter, except her daughter is a little bit younger than yours. Her daughter is about 6 or 7 right now.
Yeah, we'd have to try it. I think at that age, she was drowning most of my characters in the harbor.
Ah!
And then I remember once when she was about 3, I had my cleric in a tavern, and this is back when Dispel Magic took away good stuff too, and she was spamming Dispel Magic in the tavern one day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Don't let a 3-year-old near your character.
I was off with the little one. I had left it on, and I came back, and, you know, there's a whole bunch of people losing their buffs.
All right. Now, what about your younger?
She's really not into it as much. My younger daughter has special needs. She has autism, so it's not really quite her thing.
Yeah.
So it's actually one of the reasons that my husband and I stayed with DDO so long is that it's our outlet. And then it gives the little one, my older daughter now, her own outlet.
Yeah, I could quite understand that.
So, you know, it's all right. Yeah, you had a really bad day. Let's go kill some monsters.
Exactly. Let's go beat something up in game. That's what we need to do.
And exactly. And it gives her something fun to do. And I think she's going to have, you know, something different to tell her friends when she goes back to school shortly.
They're going to look at her like, you did what?
I know, right?
You were killing a what? Yes.
Well, she has a much better understanding of the game, I think, already than a lot of people do. She walked by me Friday night. We had, I don't know how many rogues. We're halfling commandos. We have more rogues than you could shake a stick at. But she walked by at the raid. She goes, hey, Mom, got rogues? I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, we're fine. We can pull it off.
Do you come up with this stuff? You know,
I don't know. But she wants me to. She's very excited about the blogging. She was very excited about this. She will tell me, she's like, "Oh, did you tweet that? Did you put that in the blog yet?"
Sounds familiar.
Yep.
Is that how you got started?
Pretty much.
So have you tried to introduce her to pen and paper yet?
That's my next objective, is that I want to introduce her and maybe a couple of our friends to pen and paper. I had followed the podcast that Dungeons and Dragons did with Dungeon Scout.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm a Girl Scout troop leader.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to see if there were people in our area whose daughters were in the same age group that were interested, because there's a whole set on how to introduce them at that age to role playing. And I think that nowadays there's less of a disdain of being geeky.
Yeah, definitely. I just noticed that last week at Gencon. It's like the attendance, I'm trying to think how I want to word this. The people that attend Gencon has changed over the years. I'll just put it that way.
Right.
And, you know, being, you know, like you said, being a geek is kind of cool now. And I owe that a lot to Will Wheaton and Tabletop. I think Tabletop from Geek and Sundry and Will Wheaton, I think, opened up the whole game playing, role playing to a larger audience, and people are seeing, hey, this is kind of cool to do this stuff now. This looks like it's fun.
Yeah, I agree. It's just a lot more fun, and even watching people play tabletop. I mean, when I first started playing tabletop back in the day, nobody would want to watch us. Heck, you wouldn't even tell people that's what you did on a Sunday night.
Right, exactly. Yep. Well, yeah, because it had that stigma, It was like, oh, they're Dungeons and Dragon players, or they're role players, they're the weird people.
Don't go near them.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to go to church tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
You don't go near them.
Yep. And thankfully, that's, I still get that a little bit, but not like it used to be, so.
And I think it's more mainstream, so it's easier to introduce her and her friends. I mean, granted, not all of her friends are going to want to do it, but there is a couple that we think that might be interested in introducing tabletop. And now you can make your own badge within the Girl Scouts. And I know that the Dungeon Scouts out in California have a badge made that will go on the back of the uniform. So you can actually learn this as a skill builder and earn a patch.
Oh, that is awesome. That is amazing. I did not know that.
Yes, it was actually a really good article, and I reached out to him to get some of the information, and there's modules on his website and everything.
Well, cool. You'll have to give me the link for that so I can add that to the show notes.
I will.
Anything else you wish to add?
No, I think it's been fun. I mean, I think we're going to do a lot more with her. We just haven't grouped with her yet, mostly because she is so young. There's a couple of people that we will eventually let her play with, but for the most part, we're going to keep it very small, just mainly my husband and myself, because she is only 11. And it's always, to keep her safe. And
right. But if you could get some of her friends interested or something like that, it could be a core group, perhaps.
You could have LAN parties.
Yeah.
They'll all come over, and it's just, I think introducing your children to the game is fun. It's some way to experience something new, especially since we've been playing since 2006. The game isn't as new, even with new modules, but watching something new for her, she's never seen a dragon, or she's never seen, even a kobold, was interesting.
Just tell her they still hate you.
They do. They do. And now, we actually joke about it because we ran a quest and we recalled out, left my husband dead stone in the quest because he wasn't on the chain. And he's like, Daddy remembers. Daddy never forgets.
All right, let's head into our week in DDO. Draculetta, what have you been up to?
I actually did a lot this week. My Ranger Rogue reached level 14, and I'll let Pine Leaf talk about that because that's the one I run with him. But mainly what I did is I was working on my Warlock, who is level 7. I did manage to hit 75 Coin Lord favors, so I got my extra bag, which is always a good thing.
Always good, yeah.
And I went into Waterworks, and I was running everything on Elite, because if you remember, the Warlock is the one I'm trying to run everything on Elite, just to see if I can do it, and so far, I haven't had any problems. I did the Kobold's Den, Clan Gnashtooth, rescuing Arlos, and the Clan Tunnelworm, and Ben's Fate. The only thing I had problems with was in Clan Tunnelworm. I think it was Tunnelworm. That's one where you go down, and then there's that one room where the kobolds are on top of the thing, and they have the...
Is that the one where you dumped into the water, or are you talking...
The one where they're throwing stuff down at you. They have these spellcasters are up there, and the spear throwers are up there.
Oh, yeah, that fun
and
one.
You have to wind your way up and then get the lever to open the door. Yeah, that one I did manage to actually die in, but that's because I think I lagged, though. And, of course, the cleric I had with me since I'm only 7, he doesn't have Raise Dead yet. So I had to have him collect my stone and then run back to the shrine, but it all worked out that I actually finished. And that's the first time I've actually died on my Warlock.
Ooh.
So I don't know what that says about the Warlock, but yeah, that was the only problem I had. And then I also did Bringing the Light in the Harbor, did that on Elite as well, since, like I said, my goal on the Warlock is I'm going to run everything on Elite until I'm starting to find things that are just like way too hard for me. but so far, even being on level on Elite, I'm just tearing through everything. The Warlock is just awesome. I'm having fun, which I'm still surprised about because I don't play spellcasters ever, but I'm having a blast, no pun intended, with the Warlock.
All right. Then we'll go into my week. We'll begin with on my Artificer, level 14 Artificer with Drac. We went into Giant Hold and did Madstone Crater. And let's see. And Madstone is certainly the right term, if I remember correctly. Some of the weird things that happened in there.
I'm trying to think. It doesn't seem like there was anything. I mean, it was a pretty straightforward, fun little quest, but I don't think anything like noteworthy happened in there that I can think of. At least I can't think of anything that happened in there.
Right. We did have the trouble on protecting those giants sometimes when they were casting their rituals, and I think it was the second one because we were.
Oh, yeah.
Enemies were coming from different sides.
That's right, yeah, because the first crystal you do, they only come from 2 sides, and then that second one, they were coming from 3 sides.
Three sides, and there are ones that are on top of a ridge, throwing things down, and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
Because the giant reset the first time, because we didn't see the third way in, so yeah, that's right. But
right.
That's a fun quest, though.
All right, and then on my Warlock, on my Permadeath Warlock, I ran through Korthos Island, all of those quests, and also in the harbor did Bringing the Light, Garrisons, Baldry's Interest, the Shipment, and Retrieving the Stolen Goods. So some of the early quests up on the harbor. And that pretty much covers what I did. So, Geek Mom, what did you do?
Last week we didn't do too much. The only thing other than Dalera was we did fire on Thunder Peak Friday night. That's right now everyone's trying to get their ingredients. So that was our big push, was Friday night for fire on Thunder Peak as a guild.
Okay.
And I was going to ask earlier when we were talking to you before, do you do permadeath at all, or have you ever done permadeath?
I've never really done permadeath, no. I think maybe because I run a cleric, it's so much that it's just too stressful.
I can see that. I can understand.
Oh, yeah, I can see, because if you're the cleric, then you're the one responsible if someone dies. Then, of course, until you get to level 9, in which case you could raise them without breaking the permadeath rules usually.
Right, but at that point, the stress to get to level 9 would just be too much.
That's why I don't permadeath at all. So
yeah, exactly.
Way too stressful.
You notice I don't exactly do serious permadeath. I mean, getting the character to level 5 to say, okay, I've tested it with this character.
I'm good.
Yes, I'm good. If you would like to help support DDO players, you go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on the DDO Players News, or even be a guest host with us. We did not have any iTunes reviews, and we do have a featured comment concerning DDO Players News episode 43, Slightly Flawless, Mostly Harmless, and the comment comes from Storm DDO. And what does Storm say?
He says, another great installment, thank you. And then he says, Draculetta, the most convenient guard against negative levels, yes, pretty much mandatory in many Orchard quests, is to bring a hireling that can cast Death Ward. You do have a couple other options, and they include the Visor of the Flesh Render guards and Death Ward potions. The Visor has a single clicky, and it's not guaranteed to drop, but it's not exactly rare either. Potions and other sources are harder to obtain. And he linked the Death Ward DDO wiki page for the list of hirelings with Death Ward. And then he wraps it up by saying, thanks again, and he looks forward to the next episode.
All right, I'll check out that page to see, what hirelings have the, let's see, level 13, 14, 16, 16, 18, 18. So it looks like Durham Guardwell at level 13 and Tempest Lord. Actually, I might have Tempest Lorvin currently as one of my hirelings. So I'll have to keep that in. Keep that hireling then, if that's the case. All right, and from Kirkos, we have, I was extremely meh about Favorite Soul as well when I did that life, right up until I got the easy button. At level 12, you get Blade Barrier. Getting as much equipment to max out the damage for Blade Barrier With Maximize and Empower spell feats, you could run through most quests with ease. A favorite soul and a ranged character go well together since both tend to kite the beasties around to avoid taking damage. As an aside to your permadeath quest, I feel that most classes start to feel different at about level 7. I would be interested to see your take on your characters if you were to take them to level 9 once you finish the cycle of getting through level 5. Kirkos.
Well, there you go. I think you threw down the challenge to you, Piney.
All right, maybe Well, I do have the one that I'm trying to go for a lot long term with the splits, but maybe after I see how that goes, I could look into doing some of them at least at a longer time period. We did not have any emails this week, but if you would like to send us one, you can send it to podcast@ddoplayers.com. You could also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance @PlayersAlly, DDO Players @DDO Players, Draculetta @Draculetta_72, Pineleaf @Pineleaf Needles. Follow our guest at Judy Nazareth and her blog at Confessions of a Geek Mom. The Players Alliance has 3 live shows every single week. On Mondays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have DDO Players News. On Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Guild Wars Players News. And on Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time, we have Lojo Players News. And you could join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. And Geek Mom, is there anything you wish to add?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, then that's it for tonight. This is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to blast those bugbears.